For you, kid, the day you challenged me was the most important day of your life. For me, it was just a Tuesday. Kid is about to get his shit rocked. Ever since Wano has ended and two emperors have fallen, the world has been flipped upside down, with battles happening all across the new world to see who will become the next Pirate King. It is quite literally a battle royale. But of the three, Luffy, Law, and Kid, I'm unsure who got the worst luck, as Luffy is on Egghead trying to rescue Vegapunk, but is about to fight basically the entire navy, the Admiral Kizaru, one of the Gorosei, and there are 50 Mark III Pacifista on the island, plus 4, maybe even more Seraphim. On the other hand, we have Law fighting Blackbeard, and right now we have Kid versus Shanks on Elbaf. This fight has actually been a long time coming. I even discussed it a long time ago that Kid would eventually fight Shanks, as if you remember, Shanks was the original target of Kid and his alliance, and there's no way Oda was going to set that up and do nothing of it. Originally, I thought Kid would play a big role in the downfall of Shanks, but the way things are looking now, maybe Shanks might be the downfall of Kid and his crew. Just like Luffy, there are certain characters that have plot armor where they're basically bulletproof until certain events were to happen. Nothing is happening to Blackbeard until he meets Luffy. Nothing is happening to Shanks until he reunites with Luffy or meets Blackbeard. So unfortunately, in this case, Law and Kid are just sacrifices in order to build up these two threats. These guys went through hell in order to get their poneglyphs, only for them to go against two emperors just 1 week later. Unfortunately, Kid got the shit end of the stick, as Law will most likely be captured and saved for a later part in the series. Luffy's Luffy, he's fine. And while Kid, unfortunately, he's fighting against one of the most hyped up characters in the entirety of the series and is finally getting a fight for the very first time. And not gonna lie, outside of Killer, Kid's crew kinda stinks, so unfortunately for him, things are not looking too good for him. And he was honestly one of the few characters in the series, at least in the worst generation, I was never really sure what his role will be in the end game, as Law will be fine because of his fruit, and he's a D and he wants to know the true history of the Void Century and his fate. Luffy's Luffy, of course, but Kid, I was never really sure on what Oda's plan was for him. Maybe it was really just to lead the road poneglyphs into Shanks and get into his position, but I don't think that's the case, as Oda has always said that he had great plans for Kid and his character from the very beginning. It is quite literally a winner-takes-all battle royale. It feels as though we're watching a tournament happen live, and all the participants are fighting to decide who will become the next Pirate King. And one of those battles is Shanks versus Kid, red hair versus red hair, Scar versus Scar, one arm versus one arm, and unfortunately for Kid, I think he's way out of his league. It took him and Law together to take down Big Mom. Obviously, Kid has gotten a lot stronger since his first encounter with the red-haired pirates, where it turned out he didn't even get a glimpse of Shanks' face as he was beaten to the white meat and didn't even have a chance to fight back, losing his arm in the process, and it's alluded to that the person who did it was Ben Beckman. But now Kid is more experienced, gotten a lot stronger, but he's heading into enemy territory, which has been confirmed that Elbaf is one of Shanks' territories, something we have speculated, many fans, for numerous of years, which is massive because it shows that Shanks, having Elbaf as his territory, is highly respected and extremely powerful, that the giants are willing to fall under his banner. And not only that, he has access to the strongest army in the world, something Big Mom wanted, thinking that she would become the Pirate King if she had access to it. Not only that, he has the captains of the giant warrior pirates on his side, Dorry and Broggy. As it turns out, they were old friends, meaning Shanks, maybe even Roger, at one point went to Little Garden and befriended these guys, which is really cool, seeing that these guys' beef is finally over, possibly meaning Ono and Kashi finally went to Little Garden to pick them up, as they alluded to at the end of Eni's lobby. And what's really crazy is that had Luffy gotten his way, he'd be going to Elbaf and not just reuniting with Shanks, but also Dorry and Broggy. And honestly, the Straw Hats, specifically Usopp and Luffy, would be considered gods among Elbaf, being friends with Shanks and his crew, Dorry and Broggy, who those two probably told stories on the island about Luffy and the Straw Hats and what they did for them. Probably told Yasopp about how great his son was. Like, I can't wait for them to finally get to Elbaf, but I digress. Shanks is about to give Kid the ass whooping of a lifetime. Kid is exactly what Shanks basically hates. a hot-headed, brash, young new pirate that thinks they can take the world head on. Based on portrayal and how everyone treats Shanks, he's considered to be one of, if not the strongest man on the planet. Feared and respected by many. Once had daily duels with the world's greatest swordsman Mihawk, was able to stop Kaido from going to Marineford, stopped the Marineford War, clashed with Whitebeard and split the skies, made Green Bull look like a bitch, just his hockey alone, and he's considered the observation killer, where someone cannot even use their observation hockey on a person like Shanks. He is the only person alive that was in Kaido's top 5. Shanks is him. He is a GOAT. He is quite easily one of the most hyped up characters in the entire series alongside Mihawk and Dragon, as everyone has been anticipating seeing these characters go all out. Because of his plot armor, Shanks is Teflon, he is bulletproof, and nothing is stopping him until he meets Luffy or Blackbeard. Similar to Law's situation, Kid is most likely a sacrificial lamb in order to give his poneglyph rubbings to the next person, and in this case it's Shanks. Because this is a winner-takes-all battle royale that's taking place all throughout the new world, it's sort of like a tournament to decide who will become the next Pirate King, and to me it seems as though Oda's setting up all of the poneglyphs to be in the hands of the current emperors, Blackbeard, Luffy, Shanks, and Buggy, each of whom have a relationship with one another and will all have a final battle to declare who will become Pirate King and get one step closer to Laugh Tale, and I believe this battle will probably happen on Elbaf, as it's the only island that's big enough to hold all of these guys. Quite literally, it'll become the island of the strongest, as it's already titled, but this time declare who will become the next Pirate King. But that leaves the big question. What happens to Kid? Because I don't see Shanks or even Elbaf taking Kid as prisoner. That doesn't seem like their type of vibe. Basically telling Kid, drop your stuff or drop dead, choose wisely. Hard bars. But I'm not sure on what Kid's fate will be, because obviously Oda has plans for both Kid and Shanks. Kid is Luffy's rival, but also a parallel to him. The way Kid approaches things is completely different to that of Luffy. Even his fight with Shanks is a parallel, as Luffy is a friend and ally of Shanks, where Kid is an enemy. I believe Kid still has a lot more potential he has yet to show, and he's a part of the newer generation, and taking down Big Mom and Kaido is a big thing, cementing his place in the pirate world, and so I do believe he'll play a massive role in the final saga, but also for the future generation. Although he'll put up a great fight, I do think he'll lose, but him dying here would be massive wasted potential. Honestly, I feel real bad for Kid. Ever since going into the new world, he's been getting embarrassed left and right. Rumors going around basically calling him a bitch, being defeated by Kaido, getting his crew stolen from him, thrown in prison, and now he's met Shanks and is about to get his ass cheeks clapped. This guy's life is rough. Honestly, Kid is the perfect representation of what Maria tried to warn Luffy about, that the new world is a hellish place and a nightmare, and you'll consider the Grand Line a paradise. I really don't hate Kid, but I do think Oda is using this situation to hype up Blackbeard and Shanks for their eventual battle in the future as well, taking out two top competitors that are able to take out Big Mom. But it's also a way for Shanks to get one step closer into becoming Pirate King. As he mentioned to Beckman, it is now time for them to look for the One Piece. And honestly, there is a possibility we can get Shanks versus Luffy as the final battle, the protege of Roger versus the one the world has been waiting for. This could be Luffy's final test, and once overcoming Shanks, he can finally give him the Straw Hat, as he'll become a great pirate, but also the Pirate King, if Oda decides to go that route. Of course, Kid is very powerful. He's gonna do some heavy blows on Shanks and show that he can tangle with the big boys. He's definitely gotten stronger since Wano. But I also do think Kid is the perfect person to go against Shanks and kind of hype him up and get him back into the game, as Oda, I think, is using Kid as a way for Shanks to get his own poneglyph rubbings and be close to the One Piece as well. He did choose Elbaf as his territory for a reason, and we know that they are going to play a big role in the grand scheme of things, having a connection with most likely Sun God Nika, and there's the whole Jaguar de Sol, who most likely is the man marked by flame that knows the final poneglyph rubbings, most likely, and that's why Kid is looking for him, and he's probably hiding out in Elbaf. So in a sense, Shanks alongside Blackbeard and Luffy will be the closest ones to the One Piece. I do wonder how Buggy's gonna get into this though, and this will eventually lead into a free-for-all brawl, winner takes all. But that's the video. Unfortunately, in the grand scheme of things, Shanks is a far more important character than Kid. So, and when you think about it, there's only really 6 crews that are real competitors to become the Pirate King, and that's Luffy, Law, Kid, Buggy, Shanks, and Blackbeard. So eventually people are gonna have to start falling. And let's be honest, of everyone I mentioned, Law and Kid are the least likely to become Pirate King. So unfortunately, in this giant tournament, these two must be taken out, but not out of the story entirely. I'm sure he'll lose unless some third party gets involved. I am curious to know what happens to Kid after the battle, as he did take part in taking down Big Mom and she was an enemy of Elbaf and all the giants in the world, so they might even look at him as some sort of hero, maybe, but he is going against their friggin' god and savior, Shanks, so I don't know how to feel about that. He's fighting basically the totality of Shanks' like armada, like there's other allies around the island as well, and then there's the giants, so I feel bad for Kid, honestly. Like, there's really no way out for this guy, but I don't think he'll die or be taken out the story just yet. I do think he has a lot more potential and things to show for the story. But I do respect Kid. Despite having a disadvantage and being way out of his league, he still has enough confidence to take on the worlds just like Luffy. And because of what he did to Big Mom and his relationship with Luffy, Shanks might let him live and slide. But that's all I gotta say. I hope you guys have a good day and a good night. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.